At first glance, Iron Resurrection and Kindig-It Design couldn't be more different. One is deep in the heart of Texas, where rusted-out relics are reborn by a tight-knit crew who run on grit, loyalty, and elbow grease. The other is nestled in Salt Lake City, Utah, where flawless paint, high-end clients, and studio-level precision define every build. But what connects both shops is something deeper. A shared obsession with breathing life back into machines that most people would overlook or discard entirely. That's where the comparisons begin, and where the differences explode. Iron Resurrection, run by Joe Martin and his crew, feels like a garage where you might actually drop off your car. The vibe is relaxed, but passionate. Dust coats the floor, tools are scattered in controlled chaos, and the builds are driven by purpose, not flash. These are the underdog projects. Barn finds, forgotten trucks, rides that mean something to someone, and the way they come back to life feels personal. In contrast, Kindig-It Design is a modern-day custom car cathedral. Dave Kindig's shop is immaculate. Sleek floors, uniformed specialists, top-shelf equipment. Every build is a polished dream, often starting with a full render and ending with a show-winning masterpiece. These aren't just builds, they're statements. One-off customs that cost more than most houses. Flawless down to the stitch. What sets this matchup apart isn't conflict, it's philosophy. Two approaches, two visions, one born from restoration with soul, the other sculpted by vision and unmatched design execution. The shops are the foundation, but what they each stand for is the heart of the story we're about to tell. Joe Martin and Dave Kindig might live in the same world of custom cars, but they come from completely different corners of it. Joe's story starts with motorcycles. Before he was rescuing rusted trucks on TV, he was building award-winning bikes and painting custom helmets. He's an artist with a grinder, quiet, focused, and always hands-on. Joe doesn't lead with ego, he leads by example. You'll rarely see him shouting on camera or bragging about a build. He lets the work speak for itself. Dave Kindig, on the other hand, built his empire with design sketches and a business mind sharper than a die grinder. A self-taught artist with an eye for flawless flow, Dave turned a talent for drawing cars into one of the most respected design shops in the country. He's equal parts creative visionary and marketing strategist. From the way he talks to clients to how he narrates his builds on camera, Dave commands the room, but never arrogantly. He's polished, professional, and absolutely obsessed with quality. Where Joe is the craftsman in the shadows, Dave is the architect in the spotlight. Joe's builds come together in real time, often adapting mid-project. Dave's builds are pre-planned, every detail rendered before the first bolt is touched. Both men have loyal teams behind them. Both are respected by fans. But the way they lead, and what they prioritize, tells you everything about how their shops operate. In this battle of personalities, there's no villain, just two masters with wildly different tools, tones, and temperaments. One driven by raw artistry and hustle, the other by polish and perfection. It's the rare kind of contrast that fuels fan loyalty and debate. When it comes to actual builds, the difference between Iron Resurrection and Kindig-It Design becomes even more dramatic. Joe Martin's crew tackles projects most builders would walk away from: trucks with caved-in frames, cars buried in decades of grime, and rolling shells with no clear plan. These are real-world challenges. Joe's approach is rooted in function. Preserve what matters, upgrade what's broken, and give it new life. A little bit of restomod, a little bit of hot rod flair, but always grounded. Kindig-It, by contrast, approaches every build like a sculpture. Dave rarely works with a car as is. He reshapes panels, deletes trim, sculpts custom parts from scratch, and reimagines the vehicle into something entirely new. There's no such thing as a minor tweak. From one-off billet grills to bespoke interiors that look like luxury concept cars, Kindig-It's builds are a masterclass in design precision. You don't just restore a car here, you reinvent it. Joe might keep a classic Chevy truck's soul intact, but add a new drivetrain and disc brakes. Dave might cut into a 60s Corvette and redesign the entire rear clip for better lines and symmetry. It's not just a difference in budget, it's a difference in mindset. Joe builds for people who want to drive and show off a piece of history. Dave builds for clients who want to own a rolling piece of art. Both philosophies are valid, and both produce incredible results. But one values the story in the steel. The other values the story yet to be written. That's the divide, and that's what makes comparing them so compelling. Step into each shop, and the differences don't stop with the builds. They extend to the crews themselves. At Iron Resurrection, the team feels more like a family than a staff. You've got Shag, the deal-making hustler with charisma to spare. Amanda, Joe's wife, running logistics and operations with equal parts precision and patience. Jason and the tech crew bring humor, grit, and a sense of camaraderie that gives the show heart. There are inside jokes, real bonds, and a let's-figure-it-out attitude that feels authentic and unrehearsed. At Kindig-It Design, the culture is tight, but professional. It runs like a well-oiled machine. Every employee is a specialist. Will is a master painter with an eye for perfection. Kev Dog brings creativity and fabrication brilliance. The wiring, the interiors, the bodywork. Each task has a go-to person who's the best at what they do. There's pride in being part of Kindig's elite team, and expectations are sky high. Mistakes aren't shrugged off. They're dissected, corrected, and rarely repeated. Joe's shop runs on trust. If something goes wrong, they joke about it, fix it, and move on. At Kindig-It, they aim to make sure it doesn't go wrong in the first place. You can see the difference in the way the teams interact. Iron Resurrection thrives on relaxed teamwork. Kindig-It thrives on structure and excellence. Neither is better. They're just built for different purposes. But this difference in vibe has a massive impact on how each show feels, and why fans often align themselves with one camp or the other. One is the garage next door, the other, the custom shop you dream of visiting. Either way, both crews are the heartbeat of their brand, and that heartbeat sets the tone for everything they create. If there's one area where the difference between Iron Resurrection and Kindig-It Design becomes crystal clear, it's the money. And not just how much the builds cost, but how each shop thinks about their audience, clients, and bottom line. Joe Martin's builds on Iron Resurrection typically fall in the $60,000 to $100,000 range. Still impressive, but within reach for serious car lovers. It's part of what makes the show so relatable. Joe's not building for billionaires. He's building for people who scraped and saved to finally bring their high school dream car back to life. Kindig-It Design? Whole different universe. Entry-level builds can start around $250,000, and custom projects often stretch beyond the $500,000 mark. These aren't cars you park at the grocery store. These are cars that go from enclosed trailer to show pedestal, flawless from every angle, often with bespoke everything. Dave Kindig's shop isn't just building for gearheads. He's building for CEOs, collectors, and legacy clients looking to put their name on something no one else will ever own. This contrast filters into their business strategies. Joe relies on the show and steady client flow to keep the lights on. There's hustle behind every deal Shag locks down, Each build feels like a hard-earned win. Dave, however, has developed a brand that feeds itself, a global following, booming merchandise sales, licensing deals, and ultra-high-end clientele willing to wait years for a build. One shop works from the heart, the other from a blueprint, and both work brilliantly in their own lanes. In the end, the question isn't who makes more, it's who makes it matter. And depending on whether you dream of restoring Grandpa's old truck or creating a rolling art piece, the answer is going to be wildly different. Take a step outside the garage and into the client meetings, and you'll see two completely different worlds unfold. At Iron Resurrection, many of the clients show up with rust buckets and a story. A first car wrecked decades ago. A classic pickup that belonged to a father or grandfather. These aren't just builds, they're emotional restorations. Joe and the team know they're not just working on metal, they're reviving memories. The client experience is informal, heartfelt, and deeply personal. You'll see hugs before contracts and tears when keys are handed over. At Kindig-It Design, the experience feels more like commissioning a luxury yacht. Clients arrive to a polished showroom with renderings on giant screens, detailed consultations, and meticulous project breakdowns. Every part is planned. Every request is logged. It's high-end hospitality meets cutting-edge design. The client doesn't just get a car, they get an experience from sketch to reveal, complete with updates, fittings, and final walkthroughs. It's a concierge-level build process. But here's the key. Both experiences are meaningful, just in different ways. Iron Resurrection makes the everyday car lover feel seen, respected, and part of something special. Kindig-It gives its clients the thrill of creation without the grease. One is about raw sentiment, the other is about refined service. And both leave clients walking away with something unforgettable. Not just a machine, but a moment in time, rebuilt by the best in the business. The differences in how Iron Resurrection and Bitchin' Rides are filmed mirror the very DNA of the shops themselves. Iron Resurrection is raw, stripped down, and often feels like you're just hanging out with the crew in the middle of a real workday. There are laughs, missteps, and unscripted moments that give the show its charm. It doesn't try to be flashy, it tries to be real. That authenticity, grit, noise, sweat, is what fans love. You see the process, the improvisation, the human side of every build. Bitchin' Rides, on the other hand, is all about polish. The cinematography is top tier. Builds are unveiled with dramatic lighting and camera pans that feel like product commercials. Every scene is clean, composed, and stylish. Even the shop floor is spotless. The narrative is tightly edited, focusing on each stage of the build like a documentary about precision. The visual tone perfectly matches the brand, refined, deliberate, and executed with designer-level attention. It's not that one show is better, it's that they serve different purposes. Iron Resurrection brings the viewer into the garage and says, "Here's how we really do it." Bitchin' Rides invites you to sit front row at a high-end design studio and watch a vision come to life. The way they're shot affects how you feel about the builds, the crews, and even the cars themselves. And ultimately, that's the power of great storytelling. Two shows, two styles. But both prove that whether you prefer grease under the fingernails or showroom shine, there's room in the custom car world for every kind of story. If you really want to understand the soul of a show, look at its fans. Iron Resurrection and Kindig-It Design attract two different tribes, and the contrast says everything about the heart of each shop. Joe Martin's fan base is blue-collar, hands-on, and fiercely loyal. They're the weekend wrenchers, the barn-find dreamers, The guys who've kept their first project car sitting in the garage for 20 years. Because one day, they'll get to it. These fans see themselves in the builds. Every weld, every rust patch, every creative fix speaks their language. And Joe? He never talks down to them. He builds for them. Then there's Dave Kindig's audience. More upscale, more design-savvy, more collector-driven. They appreciate craftsmanship on a luxury level. They're not as interested in the origin story of a beat-up El Camino as they are in the smooth lines of a hand-fabricated custom build. These fans want to see perfection. They want elegance, finish, and the kind of detail you don't get from a backyard garage. And Dave delivers. Both communities are passionate, but in different ways. Iron Resurrection fans often engage directly, commenting on social posts, tagging friends in barn finds, and feeling like they're part of the journey. Kindig fans? They admire from a distance, sharing images of finished builds, buying merchandise, and attending high-end car shows. One group is grease-stained, the other is sharply tailored. But there's one thing they share: a love for the machine. Whether it's a rusty Impala or a $500,000 custom coupe, both fan bases understand what these cars represent. Freedom, legacy, article. That's what unites them, no matter which shop they back. No shop escapes criticism, and even the best car shows have their rough roads. For Iron Resurrection, some fans have pointed out long production gaps, with rumors swirling about budget constraints or cast changes. The show's more casual structure means delays can spark concern. Is the shop okay? Are Joe and the crew still together? Thankfully, they've remained tight-knit. But it's proof that when your brand is built on authenticity, fans pay attention to every move. Kindig-It Design, by contrast, faces a different kind of scrutiny. The criticism here is about style. Some fans say the cars are too clean, too overbuilt, or lacking the gritty soul of traditional muscle car restorations. There's also a perception among some hardcore gearheads that Kindig's show is more about style than substance, that it's more corporate showroom than garage. But the reality is, that's Kindig's lane, and he owns it unapologetically. Neither shop has faced major scandal, which says a lot in the reality TV world. No criminal charges, no lawsuits blowing up in tabloids, just good old-fashioned shop talk, and the occasional social media drama. When you've got two powerhouse brands building very different visions of perfection, there's bound to be friction. Still, that contrast is part of the appeal. Joe builds with soul. Dave builds with polish. Both shops invite opinions, and debate fuels the fan base. In fact, the rivalry isn't just accepted, it's embraced. When the dust settles and the clear coat shines, we're left with the big question: who builds it better? The answer? It depends on what you value in a build and in a story. If you're a blue jeans, lunchbox, backroad kind of car fan who loves seeing something rise from the grave, Iron Resurrection speaks to your soul. Joe Martin doesn't just build cars, he revives them. He saves family legacies, fixes what everyone else forgot, and makes each ride feel like a second chance at life. The vibe is grassroots, and the payoff is emotional. It's not about flash, it's about heart. But if you lean toward the extraordinary, where every curve is engineered and every part flows like art, Kindig-It Design is your world. Dave Kindig doesn't just build cars, he creates masterpieces. These aren't daily drivers, they're rolling sculptures. The kind of rides that steal spotlights, win awards, and never look back. For fans of form, detail, and luxury, Kindig is king. There's no wrong choice, just two different kinds of greatness. One is built in a gritty Texas shop with weld burns and laughter. The other is shaped in a spotless Utah studio with design sketches and CNC machines. One is raw, the other refined, but both are real. So, who wins? Maybe we all do. Because whether you're into barn finds or billet parts, both Joe Martin and Dave Kindig are pushing the custom car world forward. And thanks to them, gearheads everywhere have more than just cars to admire. They have stories to believe in. Stories to believe in. Stories